I took your online class, Understanding and Using Cost of Ownership, which showed me all the data I need to build out my complete model. I've now spent some time with equipment engineering and finance and have all the data. Can you show me how to finish building out a complete too cool model?
Let's start by opening our previously saved database. We know there's only one single model in this database, so let's just go down the left navigation bar and look at all the possible inputs. We've previously talked about informational input and its use as a report header and a way to more easily identify models in a large database. There are two other tabs on this form: manufacturing type, which we have also discussed, and space and currency units. This allows us to have different input and output currencies and a resulting exchange rate, as well as the ability to have floor space specified in either metric or English units. Now let's look at factory parameters, which has several subcategories. The first form includes time not available, that is under the control of the factory. We previously added data to this form. We've also discussed the volume metrics form, which took data from TurboCool and set the analysis to single system fully loaded. We also added the redo rate. Likewise, we included data on parametric limited yield loss. The next subsection is administrative rates. The scheduled production tab is defaulted to 24 by 7 by 365 operation with a 4-shift work week. I see from your data that you're only operating 2 shifts at 40 hours and have a 2-week shutdown. The labor rates tab also has default values. I see your wages and salaries are a little bit different, so let's update those now. Space rates include depreciation on the building as well as general operating expenses for lighting and air conditioning. Your data indicated that these values were close enough for now. Support services are other costs that didn't easily fall into your fully burdened salary and wage rates, but in your case, there are none. We'll make a few changes to the financial parameters area. Your company estimates that for the life of the equipment, 10 years, inflation will stay low. We also need to add the insurance and property tax values. Lastly, we have the Other Cost tab. Let's update the yield costing values, and that finished the factory parameters section. Now let's look at the model-specific data. This section primarily deals with data under the control of the equipment and material suppliers. Again, we'll start with the time not available, which we previously updated. We have also previously updated the throughput form. Yield has also been updated, as was floor space and original cost. System qualification deals with the time and materials spent on bringing in a new piece of equipment before it can be put into production. These values need to be allocated over the total number of pieces of this type of equipment being brought in if you're not qualifying each piece. I see in your case that you qualify every piece of equipment, so let's update that data. The last tab deals with initial training for personnel. You only train personnel on the first piece of equipment type, and I see your projection is to ultimately have 5 such equipment. So let's take your numbers and divide by 5. The next area is production data. The first area is utilities, and I see the equipment uses electricity and natural gas. Let's update the label for the second record. The usage method allows us to allocate costs on a per unit of production, time, or lot basis. Your data is annual per system, so let's make those updates. Supplies and consumables work the same way as utilities. You have 3 different materials used at this step: a release agent, plastic, and a form. The release agent and plastic are provided on a cost per unit basis. When using unit-based calculations, it is helpful to put the unit of measure in the label. That way, when you enter the quantity per unit, you know what the entry actually means. Note that the price per quantity is the cost per gram, not the cost for the total number of grams. TooCool calculates the total cost based on the entries and the volume of production. The form is entered the same way, but it can be used 1,000,000 times. So the quantity per unit is 5 zeros and a 1, and the price per quantity is 10,000. The last form under production data includes other production costs. The only item we need to update is the test units. If you remember the data from factory parameters, time not available, the data said 7 tests per week. In this case, the test unit can only be used once, so we will enter 7 for the test units per week. The Labor tab allows us to enter data on personnel usage. This equipment isn't heavily automated, so we have 1 system per operator. The previous data indicated that ultimately there would be 5 systems, so we can allocate the time for supervisors and engineers accordingly. There is no need for contract labor. The last input section deals with maintenance. This was updated previously, but since finance told you that the model should be built around a 2-shift work week, we need to update the scheduled maintenance headcount. That entry was in shift 4, and we need to change that to shift 2. Now let's take a look at the management report and compare to our previous cost of ownership result of 14.49 cents. The new value is 49.58 cents, demonstrating that initial assumptions don't always match the actual data. Now that we've built out the model, all we need to do is click the diskette button and save the database and model. You started with some guesses at data using TurboCool, then refined those guesses with first-pass data, and finally finished out an accurate model with a little bit of help from other departments. The total process didn't take much time, but now you have information that can be acted on in your quest to reduce your manufacturing costs. Wright Williams and Kelly was happy to help you along the way with our webinar, Understanding and Using Cost of Ownership, and TooCool software. You're now ready to take on advanced applications in cost of ownership and overall equipment efficiency.